Next is table topics, which will be done by led. I was like, what is the right word for this? I don't know. By Weston Hadlock.
Thanks, Dan. All right. So I'm a big fan of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, not that bad.
It's a good one. And then I also really enjoy, there's a book called Switch. Have you guys ever heard of Switch? I think it's a Dan and Chip Heath book, if I'm not mistaken. I read it back in college, but it's a really good one. It talks about how to convince people, what it takes to convince people to do things. It's more than just logic, it's more than just emotion, it's both. And so because of that, I think a lot of us related to both of those books, I think we forget that when we're in conversations with people, it's not about you, it's about both of you. It's got to be a win-win. But you've got to learn to connect with people. And so my table topics today, there's basic little scenarios and topics in here, but it's always a scenario where you need to convince somebody of something and do so tactfully in a way that you incorporate both logic and emotion. And it has to be clear that we can see both. Because without logic and emotion, it's not going to be as effective as if there were both. And so, for example, I'm not going to do them, but I'm going to show you what I mean. So convince your slightly overweight friend to start exercising in the morning. Okay? Alrighty, so you've got to be able to convince us, as your slightly overweight friends, that we need to do this. More than this logic. Logic needs to be there, but you've got to also show us emotionally why it's important. So that being said, who is up for participating in table topics today?
Can you get this one again?
No.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Can we go a few minutes over? Because we only have time for like one table topic. So.
And it can be fast.
What do you think, Josh?
Well, I can't be fast. They have to do it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see.
Just have a good time.
We go like 10 minutes over or something?
I'm fine.
All right.
I'll try.
All right, Steve, come on up.
You gonna read it?
Yeah, read it.
Convince a vegan of the benefits of consuming animal products.
All right.
Are you gonna be my vegan?
We all are vegans.
Oh, okay.
I'll just stand up for the inside though. Benefits of eating. Well, I just feel like we have a girl that works with us.
Yes.
So this is kind of a monologue, right?
Yeah, you don't have to engage in questions. Just
Andy, you look super healthy. As a matter of fact, you're probably, I mean, you know how Americans we're getting, starting in the 80s, we got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now the average American is what, like 35 pounds overweight. Well, you're the person that's keeping us only 35 pounds overweight, because you're about 35 pounds underweight. And I know you've been vegan for a long time, and I know you feel strongly about it, but you weigh about 85 pounds and you're 5'10", and I wonder if it would be a little healthier if you got a few more calories in your diet. Are there any things, could you think maybe like cheese or eggs? Do you think those would be okay? We don't have to kill the cow to get the cheese from it. We don't have to kill the chicken to get the egg from it. So these are maybe like borderline vegan friendly foods that are, you know, calorie rich, got a lot of fat and goodness in them, so you wouldn't have to eat quite so much bark dust.
Bark dust? Is that what you said?
Bark dust.
It's a powder drink.
Yeah, powdered bark dust. Has some roughness in your throat. But it's low calorie. It increases your fiber content significantly. And I don't know what else to say, but the light's not green. 3.
40. Just 40.
Oh, 20 seconds.
1 to 2 minutes.
20 seconds.
Oh, sorry.
1:30, yes.
I made it.
Yeah.
40 seconds.
Sorry.
I was like, that's the longest minute of my life.
1 minute per second.
that was good. Thanks, Steve. Okay, next.
I'm in a household of 2 vegans.
Steve, you can't tell somebody they're underweight without offending them, though. Just gonna say as a woman.
Really?
You can't tell them they're underweight or overweight.
Wait, no.
You can't say anything.
You can't do that.
Yes.
Come on, Josh.
Convince eaters of animal products.
Oh my gosh. I wrote both of those.
Convince
You got them back to back.
people who eat animals
To not eat animals.
to not eat animals to be vegan.
Just think about the terrible things they do to animals in the factories.
There's
Yeah, there you go.
There's animal welfare.
So I'm a big time hunter, right? And so I've always thought, we should eat animals because you need the proteins but think about it, do you really need the proteins? Can you get proteins from somewhere else? You can't. Where can you get proteins?
Beans and rice.
Beans and rice.
Nuts.
Okay. Nuts. Absolutely. Yeah, you can get proteins from nuts. Exactly. After I work out, I always have peanut butter. I love having that as my protein afterwards. Logically, it makes sense. This is not the only way to get your protein. Okay. Now, second, how many of you big hunters or people who love food, love animals as well, have pets? Okay? Have pets. But you also eat meat.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't generally ingest cat.
Okay? But the major problem with our society is the way we go after these animals, and it's the treatment of these animals. Okay? And so if we stop the mistreatment of these, don't laugh at me, this is serious stuff. If we continue to mistreat animals, we're not going to have anything left. I mean, we are consuming, there's a reason why we stopped whaling. It's because it became insatiable and to the point of extinction, which will harm our entire environment. We have to stop it. Thank you.
Who's next?
I'll go.
All right.
I'm a fool, but
I don't think there are any that are quite so politically charged.
No.
The rest are pretty normal.
Did you know we were killing 50,000 whales a year in the 80s?
that's why I think
So it got disbanded. And
But if
That's
you
my handwriting
put in
lesson.
some ownership whales, that wouldn't solve it.
yeah, yep, I can read it.
Convince your colleague to leave the comfort of the 9 to 5 with benefits and salary to chase something with much higher potential and no guarantees. Do any of you ever wake up in the morning and you are just dreading going to work? Work again. I just had to work yesterday. I don't work 2 days in a row. That's way too much work. You shouldn't have to feel that way. You can wake up in the morning and be like, yeah, going to work. Because work should be fun. You should love what you do. My husband did that for a while. He tried the dependable job with a consistent salary. And he was rather miserable. And I was tired of watching him be miserable. So one day, he finally decided to quit what he was doing and go for something that he was passionate about. And I was like, go for it. I picked up a job at Texas Roadhouse to help cover while he was figuring things out. And I said, honey, I think you should do speaking or something with something where you're in front of people and you're presenting. And he started thinking more about that, and he got into this idea. And he started with Toastmasters, and then he started doing some of those, what do you call them, where you group meet up for business?
In a workshop.
Yeah, BNI, those type of things.
Oh.
And it wasn't always necessarily the people that really gave him the connections he needed, but it got him out there. And he did make a few connections, and those connections led him to a job with training with BMW, and those connections in BMW led him to Cadillac and Delta, and he's got all these jobs now. And he gets to travel all the time, and we get a lot of benefits. So you guys, you can be excited about what you do. Yes, might be a little less secure, but guess what? We make more money than we ever have. It's not consistent. I never know what the next paycheck is necessarily going to be, but it's more than we ever have. And it's fun. So give up the comfort and follow your heart, because that is what keeps you alive.
How many more do you want us to do? A couple more? 5 more? 1 more?
let's do one more.
All right, uno más. Who?
I'll try it.
All right, Samuel. Gotta get out of my comfort zone at some point.
Just put that back, that's a good start.
This is like, okay, I think I can do this, so I'm no objecting to that. Okay, convince your Apple fan / boy or girlfriend to give Android a try.
Fanboys or fangirls. They're not just Apple fans. They're fanboys. We know those kinds of people.
I'm actually a fan.
I've got a list of things I can tell you.
I'm actually a fan of giving everything a try. It doesn't mean you have to switch permanently. So, sure, go and give Android a try. The one thing that I know that if you are this type of person, you will really like about Android. If you understand computers, then you probably will like it a little better because it's more customizable. You can play with it and get lost and then forget where you put things. And then but if you have a good memory, they're great. They're great for you. And so they actually can be very well for business. They actually interface pretty well with more softwares than Apple. Apple is very, very selective with what they allow to communicate with their software. So if you are looking for just a simple thing, then Apple is probably where you would want to be, but you obviously...
Simple-minded.
I personally am very simple-minded, and I like having something that just works for me, but if you actually understand it, then Apple could be a much better option for you and give you a lot more capabilities to connect with more people and actually share the information you want to share with more individuals as well. So you should try Android for a short time.